Well, there you have it. We started today calling it Super Sunday. And if it's Super Sunday, we have to get in a super over. And we did. What a way to finish what was an entertaining two games. And certainly it was a seesaw battle between orange and blue. No real way of guessing which of the two teams would have been happier going into that super over because both had their chances in the last 5 overs. 159 for 4. Delhi, Prithvi Shaw led the way. They took them to what looked like enough runs on the board. Kane Williamson was the man in charge after a platform set by Johnny Bairstow. But at the end, even though Kane Williamson remained not out, Jagdish Suchit had some lovely blows at the end. It wasn't enough to get them over the line. Took them to a super over. And then we had 2 spinners bowling in the super over, and also a bit of history made. The first time in the history of this tournament that a bowler who bowled a super over who turned out to be a spinner was on the winning side. We've had the likes of Mutaya Muralidharan and Sunil Narayan in the past. They've all ended up on the losing side. Well, just about time for us to catch our breaths and try and process what happened over there. Delhi coming out on top in that super over. And we'll wrap it all up on Super Sunday on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partners, My 11 Circle. Well, we were all on tenterhooks in the studio. I was there, so was Harsha, so was Simon Doull. Simon, my first question to you, when we went to that super over, which of the two teams did you think would be, that's a super over, and which one would be like, we should have won it in real time?
I think after going into the last over, after 3 balls, Sunrisers would have been thinking, this is our game. Hyderabad should have been winning that game after 3 deliveries, but then they couldn't lay bat on any of the last 3 balls, which was a real problem. And then in the super over, I think after bowling a very good first up over from Akshar Patel, then Delhi would have been a lot more comfortable, I would have thought, going out to bat inside the super over. But yeah, there was some glaring, I think, mistakes made on both sides, which I'm sure we will dissect in a little more detail.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Not often also, Harsha, that you see one boundary each. Supers overs by definition are meant to be boundary riddled, but we just had one boundary on each side.
Are you pulling Dooley's leg again?
No, I haven't got there yet. Well, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do that since Harsha's just given me the idea of Kane Williamson, memories of super overs, Kiwis and super overs. Simon Doull. Take it away.
It was tough. I think Kane Williamson had done a great job to get them to that point. I thought he looked a little bit tired. He looked like he was cooked at the back end. He did everything but win them the game. And to me, the mistake was made when they sent him out to bat. If David Warner was coming out to bat, then he had to come out to bat with Johnny Bairstow. If Kane Williamson was coming out to bat, he had to come out with Johnny Bairstow. Bairstow was the only one who struck the ball really cleanly outside of Williamson in that Hyderabad innings. So that was it was a glaring mistake, I think, from the Hyderabad management, captain, whoever made that decision made the wrong decision.
Yeah, well, we talked about one side of it, and I know Harsha, Delhi have won, but on the other side of it, do you reckon, in hindsight, or maybe Duri, I'll get your point of view on that as well. You mentioned the losing side, but what about the winning side? I know they won't talk about it anymore. The cleanest or the second cleanest hitter of the day after Johnny Bairstow would have to be Prithvi Shaw.
Yeah, again, you've got 2 left-handers coming out. Maybe that was the reason was they knew that Rashid Khan was going to bowl. I get that. Prithvi Shaw had taken the new ball bowling apart. He'd been good against the spin up front as well. So in some way, I can understand their decision more than I can understand Hyderabad's decision. You've still got 2 power hitters, 2 genuine players who can hit the ball out of the park. Yes, they both happen to be left-handers. Maybe that was just the matchup they preferred against Rashid Khan, and I'm not sure that Prithvi Shaw's record against Rashid Khan is all that good. So I don't have the numbers on that, but I'm sure that they've done their research around that. They still sent 2 power hitters, 2 boundary hitters out, and that's what I think. That's what I think was wrong with the Hyderabad game plan, was that Kane Williamson, yes, he can work boundaries, he can hit boundaries nicely, but he looked a little bit tired. He looked a bit cooked. You know, we could all see how much sweat he'd lost. His shirt was drenched, and if Besto, I can't fathom why Johnny Besto did not walk out to the crease.
Yeah, but that was, as far as the super over was concerned, it was a bit of a shootout. But in the game itself, you'd have to say Kane Williamson, absolutely outstanding. Maybe when they look back at this game, especially since they've come out on the losing side, they really will need to get something in that middle order, maybe a bit more experience. Is the answer Manish Pandey? But I mean, Kane Williamson can't always do it alone, can he?
No, he can't. I mean, he was brilliant tonight, and on a really tough pitch. Now, this is what we've been talking about for quite a long time. That Hyderabad need to make sure that Williamson is playing in their side. Not only can he get you to positions where you could be winning games on tough pitches that over the last. Let's look at all the games in Chennai, batting from over 10 onwards. I think only AB de Villiers has succeeded, along with once, and Glenn Maxwell has done any better or similar to what Kane Williamson has done tonight. So it takes quality. It's hard. The ball's turning. It's slow. It's not coming onto the bat. You have to be a seriously good player to be able to get your side into that position when you're chasing a very high score as well in comparison to what has been on that ground. So look, he was brilliant. It's just it's tough. It's tough because we will say that, or I will say. I'm not going to speak for everyone on this program. I will say that he was the wrong choice to go out and start the super over, simply because I felt he was tired. But what he did in the regular game was absolutely brilliant. But then we look at the last 3 balls, Gautam, and we were sitting here watching it. Neither batsman could lay bat on the last 3 balls. It was bye, leg bye. Sounds like a song, doesn't it?
Yeah. Bye Blackbird, BBL, whichever way you want to look at it. But that was interesting. I mean, again, if for those who are into little bits of trivia, to see the end of a game finishing without bat on ball, 3 balls. You get bowled, that's different. But 3 consecutive balls at the end of a run chase where batsmen haven't got bat to ball, I think that's pretty unique. I mean, at some point we'll have to dig into the archives and figure that one out. But let's have a look at the batting card and figure out what solution Hyderabad could possibly find, because if you have a look right from Virat Singh, Kedar Jadhav, Abhishek Sharma, they held Vijay Shankar back. Suchit was the one surprise package, obviously, towards the end, who turned out to be brilliant. But otherwise, there is an issue for them to address.
Well, I mean, again, I'll go back to, they've lost the game, and it's easy to find reasons and blame people. But Vijay Shankar, we're only 2 years removed from him being 3-dimensional and keeping a very, very good player out of a World Cup. How is he batting at 8? He's an Indian international player of repute. Batsman, bowler, fielder. That's what they told us. That's what they say. How is he batting at 8 in a run chase like that, below vastly inexperienced cricketers? What is going on in that dugout? What is going on in that think tank that pushes him to number 8 in that order? That's the first question I'll be asking of Hyderabad.
Yeah, well, maybe we can try and get an answer from someone who's spent a bit of time in that city, Harsha. We've obviously desiccated or tried to take apart Kane Williamson innings, and no praise is too little for that. But what about Vijay Shankar being pushed down? And is there a need for a bigger Indian batsman in there?
I'm struggling a little bit with technology. I hope you can hear me, but I things completely inexplicable. I found the whole Vijay Shankar thing at number 8 inexplicable. I found the Bairstow thing inexplicable. If they had to win it, they had to win it of those last 2 or 3 balls. But
well, I think we've lost him. G. I think he's only 3 floors above me as well, in a huge suite, which I would have thought would have better internet. The higher up you go and the bigger the rooms, they tend to have slightly better internet capabilities, but it seems that mine, way down on the bottom floor, is working just a little bit better tonight. I don't know what the story. Oh, you're back, Harsh. Sorry, we were talking about you. Sorry.
No, I'm on a hotspot. Can you imagine? I'm on a hotspot. So you get me while we can, but I think this is going to be pretty unstable.
Well, I guess it's very appropriate in terms of the subject we were discussing. So your internet connection is a bit like Hyderabad's middle order at the moment. So you can finish that story.
Absolutely. But just to come back to that point, if the net still holds up to that point, that you've come up to about five games, more than a third of the games. Your two top Indian international middle orders are Manish Pandey, Vijay Shankar, and 5 games in, you don't know what to do with either of those. So I think they're in serious trouble. I think what Williamson did today was to paper over a lot of the cracks over there. But Williamson is not someone who'll give you 80 or 40 balls. So Williamson has done exactly what he's capable of. Williamson's played by the book. He says, this is what I'm capable of. This is what I've delivered to you. I've given you solidity. I've taken you close. But give me somebody else to work with. And the only person who he got to work with was number 9. From 4 to 9, you cannot be struggling. So, and I think there's a huge issue there. Virat Singh cannot play again. I mean, I never want to come hard on young talent, but on a day like this, 4 or 14, they will go back to Manish Pandey, and I think they'll go back to Manish Pandey at number 4, Kedar Jadhav at 5, and they've got to figure out what to do with Abhishek Sharma, Vijay Shankar. They're missing Abdul Samad. Today, someone like Samad would have made a big difference. So they're missing someone like him. But when you come to the midway stage and roles are not clear, then you're in trouble. What about Warner himself? I think Warner's about 60% the player that we know he can be at the moment.
Yeah, I was just trying to look at what David Warner had to say on the Cricbuzz app at the end of the game. It's a tough one. I thought the way the bowlers came back after the power play was fantastic. Vijay is not one of our strike bowlers, but he was fantastic. Johnny at the top, Kane batted deep, but ... it's on the selectors. Harsh call to drop Manish Pandey, he felt. You can't discredit Virat, which is fair enough. He wants to stick with his young players. But I think the fact that it's a harsh call to drop Manish Pandey means maybe they had a bit of a disagreement in that senior management, the fact that Pandey did get dropped. So I think that's a point to ponder, and I suspect we'll see him back soon. Dooley?
Yeah, well, I find that very interesting that in a franchise situation, a short format tournament, that the captain is not having a say in the field that's going on the team. I think in a national stage, and I know we've seen a change from the England setup and just in the last week with Ed Smith going and now the captain and the coach are basically going to have all the say. I think that's a good role or good premise to have for a franchise side, not an international side. I don't entirely agree with that. But your captain in a short-term franchise tournament, your captain's got to have a say because you're not there, you're not coaching players, you're not making players a lot better. I don't understand that he hasn't had a say in that.
And this is incredible. Honestly, this is incredible. Yeah. We're not talking about a stand-in captain. We're talking about a captain who's delivered a title. We're talking about a captain who's delivered three or four playoff positions. So here's a captain around whom a team is built. You're not talking about someone who's just come in for the season and someone else influencing. So who is taking that call? Is it Trevor Bayliss? Is it Tom Moody? Who is taking a call that Warner's unhappy with, unless he's just chosen his words wrong?
Yeah, well, that could just be the case. But as you said, since Harsha mentioned 2 of the names sitting on that bench, like Trevor Bayliss, Tom Moody, VVS Lakshman, those guys seem to be the serious kind of people who are not flippant. Not that we're suggesting anyone else might be. But if you had to pick a bench to be with a calm set of strategists sitting there, it is one of the benches you choose, Julie, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Look, I hope it's been a cricketing decision. I hope it's been made by cricket people. That's the first thing I'll say, because at times in these tournaments, and this is not just happened here. It happens around the world where owners have a say, and that's completely out of the question. So hopefully it's a cricket decision that's made by cricket people. Maybe David Warner was just outvoted in the situation. Who knows? And if he has chosen his words wrongly, well, then we'll find out a bit more about that, because I'm sure that someone will be writing about this tomorrow or asking more questions of the reasons behind it.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the team who've ended up on top. Obviously, it's such a close game. Both teams will have reasons, holes to pick, things to look at, things to do differently. But Harsha, Delhi, when they look back at this, the 2 points will be like gold. They'll put it in the vault and they'll close that with a key. But in terms of any things they'd like to do differently for their next game, because their next game is in 48 hours' time in Ahmedabad.
And they have very little time to figure out what the conditions in Ahmedabad are going to be like. It'll be a travel day for them. It's a tired day for them. They'll probably watch the game on the telecast. I don't know if they'll send a scout out to watch the game. I don't know how the bubbles work with that. I don't know if you can send the scout out to do that. So they've got to adjust very quickly. I mean, one of the things we talked about in the morning was what a good side they've picked, that today they could play Ashwin, Akshar, Amit Mishra, all of whom played a part today. Now, suddenly you come to Ahmedabad. I remember Parthiv Patel telling us while he was with us that come what may, there will be bounce on this track. So if all of a sudden you find that this is a 180, 190 track, they might have to completely change their team. The good thing for them is they can go back. If it's a bouncy track, they can go back to Nokia. So they've got the options. It's just a question of how quickly they can adapt. Now, question is, who are they playing against when they come here? They're playing RCB. They're playing Bangalore, so that's going to be a really tough test for them because Bangalore will want to come storming back. But as of now, I mean, Delhi are not complaining about anything. Third 1 year, second 1 year, put themselves in a really good place to get into the final. And remember who all they've lost. They started without Rabada, still don't have Nokia available. Lost Shreyas Iyer, only have Akshar available now. With all that, I think they've done a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think Avesh Khan is one name you have to mention. Whether or not it will be horses for courses who plays the next game. Obviously, Amit Mishra's done enough. Akshar Patel's done enough. It's his part of the world. Try getting him out of the team in Ahmedabad. He'll just be sitting at the ground before they've started. But Avesh Khan, I mean, yes, Nokia is going to make his way at some point, Dooley, but Avesh Khan has been one of the outstanding young Indian talents.
Yeah, he has. Look, I've been really impressed with Avesh Khan. Good pace right from the time he ripped that one back into Faf du Plessis' pads in the first game and had him out LBW. He's got good pace. I love his action. He's got a really nice, strong action. Bowls over a braced front leg, so uses all the height that he has. He's quite aggressive. We see him use that bouncer really well. He's got slower balls, and I like him. He's a really talented cricketer. So if you do have pace and bounce, you can throw. I mean, that bowling list that we just saw there, I mean, if those six guys bat 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I don't have an issue with that. That's Stoinis at 6, Akshar at 7, Ravichandran and Ashwin at 8. If you want to stick with Amit, what do we got? If you want to stick with Akshar, Avish, and Amit Mishra, or you want to bring in Norkia, then that's totally fine for me. You've just got to find the batsman at the top. And again, I mean, they've got the option to bring Wokes back if they want to leave Smith out. They've got plenty of batting options available if they want to bring Norkia in, leave Smith out. If they want to bring Ajinkya Rahane into the top order, they've got all those options covered for them on better batting surfaces if they want. I don't think they've played their best cricket just yet, but they're still, at the top of the table. I think there's more to come from this Delhi side. Yeah. I expect them to play better. Just remember, though, that Bangalore also travel to look at the wickets. So these are two teams that will have to adjust very quickly. And in Bangalore's case, reverse, I mean, the honeymoon suddenly got over, right? You've gone on your honeymoon and someone has just said, sorry, your ticket's not valid anymore. So, the honeymoon's just ended all of a sudden for them. They've got to recover quickly. That's one of the games I picked when I did that weekly program with Dooley. I said this was one of the games I picked, Bangalore versus Delhi.
Yeah, well, I like that little analogy of the honeymoon being over, but so it'll be serious business for Bangalore when they get to a different city. And let's have a look at where the points table stands, because Bangalore, very dramatically, in the course of Super Sunday, have gone from number 1 to number 3. First, of course, they lost the game to Chennai. Then we said there was potential of Delhi beating Hyderabad, and they did that. And they've gone to 8 points as well with a higher net run rate than Bangalore. So it's Chennai, Delhi, Bangalore, 1, 2, 3. What a change. And and that's what we want. A cluster of 3 teams with 4, and Hyderabad and Kolkata with plenty of catching up to do, Harsha.
It's delicious, isn't it? It's exactly what we love. Net run rate is in again. 3 teams on 8, 3 teams on 4. I mean, that'll change. We're only there's still each team still has to play 9 games, but it's already showing you how close it is. I think Mumbai would have been just waiting to get out of Chennai and wanting to play in Delhi. But Delhi is again a lottery. I have no idea what the ground in Delhi is going to be like. Look, Mumbai have issues. Punjab have issues. Hyderabad have issues. Rajasthan just about have players. Forget issues. They just about have players. So there's lots of things happening around there.
And Kolkata have issues as well. I mean, when you look at that, the 2 at the bottom now, 5 games in, 1-1, 9 games remaining. We're saying 8 is a guarantee. So you got to win 7 of 9. 7 of 9 you have to win for Hyderabad and Kolkata. So that is tough. That is tough. They're not out of it, but they are now in the realm of do they make it or do they just play spoiler when they beat some teams? And it's going to be really hard for them to get anywhere near the top 4. They're going to have to completely turn things around and play some extraordinarily good cricket.
Well, let's start by looking ahead to the next game, because it's 2 teams we already mentioned with a few question marks, a few things to answer. This is Punjab against Kolkata, brand new venue we're going to see for the first time in this tournament. It's match number 21 from Ahmedabad. And yes, certainly for Kolkata, much, much more crucial. If that 7 out of 9 is going to happen, it's got to start tomorrow, and it's got to today. It's got to start in Ahmedabad. Yes, we're just past midnight, but for a change, we're not complaining because it was a super over, and we like that little bit of adrenaline. But Simon, first up, if we talk about Kolkata, I mean, you can't say it's a no pressure situation, but with your backs to the wall, they know they've got to start tomorrow.
Yeah, look, it is pressure. It is. They are under the pump, and their skipper's under the pump. I talked about this the other night. They've got Punjab, Delhi, Bangalore, and then Delhi again in Ahmedabad. Am I reading that correctly? I am. Wow, so they play Delhi back-to-back in Ahmedabad, which is interesting. But look, it all starts tomorrow against Punjab. They have to find a way to win. They have to get their combination right. The skipper has to find a way to perform. We haven't seen enough from him as yet. They've got to put the other day behind them completely. They need runs back from the top order. Shubman Gill hasn't done enough. Apart from one game, he hasn't really done anything. Tripathi, Rana, Morgan's got a bat at 4. Maybe DK and Andre Russell. Andre Russell's got to do something when they get a start, rather than just chiming in with an innings when they're under the pump. And their bowlers have to take wickets up front. Krishna's been decent. Pat Cummins he's taken 5 wickets in 5 matches. So he needs to get a bag of wickets, a 2 or 3 bag up front with a newish ball. They've got to get away from, I think, bowling Chakravarti up top and wait till it's a little bit older and a little bit drier and see if he can make an impact through the middle, where they haven't been doing that either. So yeah, a lot of talking would have been done in the last couple of days, and a lot of soul searching if they had to get back into this tournament.
Let's have a look at the squad for Kolkata, Harsha, and see where we can see any possible remedy. I think the first thing they'll obviously do is look at the possible conditions, try and predict the conditions. But otherwise, Harsha, do you spot anything here that a rabbit they can pull out from there?
Look, they tried Shakib, didn't work, went back to Sunil Narine. We now know that Sunil Narine was injured, and that's why Shakib was playing. But every time I look at Shakib, I think he's made to play this format, but it hasn't worked. He's never been a great IPL player. He's been a fabulous one-day player for Bangladesh. He's never been a great IPL player. Morgan hasn't. But I thought if Shakib and Morgan can have standout seasons, they had a good chance. But Morgan, as Doull is right, Morgan has to bat at 4. I mean, if he can bat 4 in the 50-over World Cup, he's got to bat 4 here and dominate from the front. Bat at 4, Karthik 5, Russell 6, and say, guys, don't expect anyone to come in at 4 and bail you out, because we cannot be a team with 3 champion batsmen, none of whom want to bat in the first 10 overs. So they will have to move Morgan to 4, Karthik 5, Russell 6, and say, come what may. If you're 20 for 4, too bad. Karthik and Russell are batting. That's for Kolkata. But Doull is spot on. Who's going to bowl? Chakravarti is the best bowler at the moment. Cummins still hold this place. Yeah.
Get Lockie Ferguson and Pavanegi into the side straight away. Okay. So Narayan is gone. Use Chakravarti as your mystery type spinner. Narayan out, Ferguson in, and get Pavanegi in because you need another spinner. So where does he come into the mix? I'm just trying to remember who played.
Shivam Mavi was there.
Shivam Mavi. So you use Cummins, Lockie Ferguson, Andre Russell, and then you have Chakravarti, Prasidh Krishna, and Pavanegi.
Yeah, that's a possibility because with Ferguson, you'll get a proper world-class fast bowler. At the moment, there's a promise of Prasidh Krishna. Every year, there's a promise of Prasidh Krishna. There's a promise of Mavi. There's a promise of Nagarkoti. Now they're getting an international bowler who did well for them last year, at least in 3-4 games. So that's one thing we discussed earlier. With Cummins and Ferguson, it allows them to have one world-class bowler bowling for 8 of the 20 bowler overs. So I'm perfectly fine with that. One of Prasidh Krishna and Shivam Mavi, maybe with Russell as your fourth quick. And with Varun Chakravarti and Pawan Negi, you can bat a little bit, gives a left arm option. That'll work a lot better. And Negi Cummins can bat 7, Negi can bat 8.
And look, and if you're worried about your batting at 7, 8, and 9, you're in trouble. You're in trouble anyway in these tournaments. We've talked about it before. On average, number 7 faces 9 deliveries in T20 cricket. So if you're worried about your number 7 having to bat, Pat Cummins has proved the other day in Mumbai that he is more than capable of batting number 7. Pawan Negi can strike the ball at number 8, and then you worry about what is behind it. Doesn't actually matter. I mean, Lockie Ferguson can hold a bat, but if you're worried about 7 and 8, then you've got problems already.
Yeah, we had a bit of a discussion about this other franchise we're going to talk about right now in terms of who they had at number 7 early in the tournament, and they fixed it by bringing in not one but 2 all-rounders in Fabian Allen and Moses Enriquez. But for the moment, I think despite them having won that last game, let's have a look at a possible first, have a look at the schedule. That's that big victory against Mumbai by 9 wickets the other day. KL Rahul outstanding there. And here they come to Ahmedabad with 4 games. They play Kolkata, Bangalore twice, and Delhi once. So those 2 are going to be interesting ones. Punjab, Bangalore twice in Ahmedabad. But Simon Doull on the squad. You know, they've had 2 different types of squads. They had one devoid of all-rounders essentially, and then they brought in 2.
Yeah, it's been, again, they haven't figured out at the start of the tournament what their best side is, and therefore had to change and continue to change. And I've talked about it before. If you think you picked your best side in game number 1, why should you be making 3 and 4 changes by game 3 and 4? It just doesn't make any sense if that was your best side. Getting Ravi Bishnoi in was good. Look, I think Fabian Allen's a very, very good cricketer. I want to see him given more responsibility and play more. If you're going to have to drop someone, I mean, it's tough, but, if you're dropping an overseas player, you drop a guy that's had 5 bats and hasn't done anything. And it sounds harsh on a guy like Nicholas Puran, but, do it and see whether Dawid Malan can offer you something. They struggled with their bowling attack, didn't they? Riley Meredith and Jai Richardson, who they paid a lot of money for. Played the first couple of games, were expensive, came back okay in the game where they didn't really have any chance of winning against Chennai, but they've dropped them straight away. So they've got rid of those 2 guys as well. It seems to be with the Punjab side time and time again, whether they're called Kings or whether they're Kings 11 or whether the Kings comes after the Punjab, they can't get their soldiers right.
I'll tell you one thing about them though, Gautam. That team that they picked with Moses Enriquez opening the bowling, Deepak Hooda opening the bowling, Fabian Allen in the side, no Jai Richardson, no Riley Meredith. That was a team pick for Chennai. Now you come to Ahmedabad, there's been a 180 T20 international, there's been a 220 T20 international here. So for Punjab, they've actually had to do a lot of moving. They figured out a team in Mumbai that by then was too late. They lost their first game in Chennai. They figured out their team just before they had to board the flight. Luckily, they won that game and won it easy against Mumbai. Now they've got to figure out what to do in Ahmedabad. So for all that you know, if Ahmedabad is a reincarnation of Mumbai, just transported across the border, they might have to go back to Meredith and the others. I mean, I don't know if they want to stay with with Moses Henriques for Puran and get those fast bowlers back. But they've got to look at their side all over again. I think Punjab's really they're big players. Actually, that Arshdeep Singh. I mean, he's playing a big role in their bowling lineup. They haven't even played Chris Jordan yet, so they've got all these people sitting on the bench. But they're now going to be in Ahmedabad for a while, and they've got to figure out they've got time to figure out what their best chances. By the time they leave Ahmedabad, they've got to be in contention for a playoff.
Interesting that Harsha should bring up Chris Jordan. Would they possibly look at the fact that of all the players, Jai Richardson, Riley Meredith, Chris Jordan's actually played in Ahmedabad not too long ago?
Yeah, they may do. Again, though, you're bringing a fresh guy in that hasn't played. At least a Meredith or a Jai Richardson have played. Do you want to go down that track? I think Chris Jordan has to be looked at now as an out-and-out bowler. I don't think he is offering you enough with the bat. He gives you, probably saves you 10 in the field. He's one of the best fielders in the business. But, you're picking him as an out-and-out bowler. And at times, his IPL career hasn't been as good as his international career for for a reason that I can't really put my finger on. He's a terrific bloke. He's a brilliant fielder. But at times, he just hasn't quite figured out the IPL, has he?
I think part of the reason, Gautam, for that could be when he plays for England, he's probably got an Archer and a Wood alongside him. So if he's not going well, someone else is there to bowl at the death. When he comes in to bowl for a franchise side, it's given that he has to bowl the big end overs. And that may not work. I mean, there he's got Adil Rashid who's taking wickets, so maybe the situation is set up for him. Yeah, Punjab have a few problems to solve.
So that's a good point, Harsha, because every king needs an archer or two, don't they?
Once we've got past midnight, Dooley's in form.
Yes,
very nice.
Yes.
All we need to remind you right now is that sometime yesterday,
sorry, I have to. He's got to have the wood on. He's got to have the wood on him too. one bad one begets another. Quickly, Gautam.
Quickly.
All right, there you go. It's Monday, folks. It's Monday. Come on, let's remind you. On Sunday, this is the question we asked you on Joy Factor. Tournament record set in beautiful Cape Town in 2009 was only broken on April 8 years later. One man played both matches. Name the player and the record. Let's go straight to the answer. And the answer is the lowest team total in this tournament. Virat Kohli played in both games.
And he also played in the 49 all-out. Didn't he? So he's got quite a few of those.
That's the one. That's the one we're talking about later. That's the second record.
That's the answer, isn't it, to the second?
The first one was RCB against RR in Cape Town in 2009. Yeah. And then the same person was also present.
Correct.
Yeah.
9 years.
Yes, they were bowled out in Cape Town for what? 60-something. And then bowled out for 49.
Yeah.
Eight years later, or whatever it was.
Yeah, so there you have it. It wasn't the same team who were bowled out, but it's just that he was present at the game both times. There you go. So set the record straight there. And the answer came fastest from, let's see who our winner is today on Super Sunday, Tanmay Chakraborty. I've noticed a pattern. Some of these thinking questions that you have to correlate 1 year to 10 years later. He seems to do these really well and much better than others.
Where's Cricbuzz gone?
Oh, he's around. Don't worry, Harsha. Every time he doesn't win, we'll get a tweet from him saying, I think I was first. He's very much around. Don't worry, Rohit. We haven't forgotten you, but we know that sometimes you can finish second best like Hyderabad finished so narrowly today, even in a super over situation. Well, that's all we have for you. One last reminder early on Monday morning that if a little bit extra is what you want out of the game of cricket, then Cricbuzz Plus is the place for you to be. Subscribe and you'll find out very shortly exactly why. But it was worth going past midnight, gentlemen. Thank you so much to our two gentlemen sitting in Gujarat, all waiting for some cricketing action coming their way. Thank you, Harsha. Thank you, Simon Doull, both of whom will be at the ground as we come to you on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partners, My 11 Circle. Good morning.